Today I want to talk a little bit about AI, and there's a lot of different factors to this equation to AI, and well, specifically I'm talking about AI in relation to artists, because I know AI can be used for just about anything at this point. And furthermore, I want to narrow it down even more since this is such a broad topic. AI and how it affects artists. You could go into how it's costing jobs and all of these things. And I'm going to leave that for another discussion. What I'm interested in talking about today is how does this possibility of using this computer program that's been called artificially intelligent, how does it affect our creative process when we use a tool like this? Now, there's so many avenues to go down immediately. It's a little hard to stay on point. I mean, as we know, I'm sure you probably know, AI is stealing from other artists to create what it creates. It's not intelligent. It's a software program that's well designed and very has a lot of flash and whiz bang at first, though that's already wearing off in my opinion. And so I think the thing that I think about being the most damaging when we use a tool like this is it's giving up some of our magic to the computer. So much of when you start a painting from a blank canvas and you develop it, whatever your process is, it doesn't matter. And to the completed painting and signing it, there's just so many billions of factors along the way, so many little micro decisions and big decisions you've made to shape that work. And all of them are you, even if you're influenced by another artist and you're mimicking their style, it's still you communicating through your natural, your hands and your with your own eyes and with mediums that are hard to predict, with paint that drips and splashes and textured canvases or smooth boards or whatever it is. And it's a collaboration with God or with nature already in this real world setting, using real mediums and brushes and things. And so there's so many possibilities and variables and unpredictables. And these things are exciting, and they're also, it can be a lot, it can be frustrating, it can be hard work. There can be setbacks and you have to start over, and it's hard to change things on a canvas. It would be so much easier to just move things around digitally. But when we use this computer tool, then we're sacrificing that magic and that mystery and that unpredictability, and we're giving it to the computer, which is going to pump something out really fast. And if it's a good program and you fed it the right parameters, it's probably going to look pretty cool. If you are planning to just use what the computer first spits out, I don't know, that's not really even you making art. If you plan to use this AI-produced image as a sort of photo reference to create your own painting, and you're going to change it in Photoshop and you're going to change it when you start to paint, that is a bit better than just using the AI-generated painting. But it's a little bit, to me, to use a metaphor, like covering somebody else's song. Even though you had the idea and you typed in the parameters to the computer, it spit out something that you wouldn't have created on your own, through your own imagination, through your own skill set, through your own tools available to you. And I have to say that all these, you may say, well, I'm not good enough, or I don't have the right tools, or my imagination's not that great, whatever. But that's still you, and it's our limitations that define us. This is so essential as an artist, because you know, to communicate with somebody genuinely through your medium, through your art, is what is going to really connect to people, and that's the golden nugget. That's what matters. People are going to identify with you and your message and the way you've communicated it, even if you think it's flawed, or even if however it turns out, it's going to be a human that has made this, and there's a level of coldness and generic cheesiness already with the AI that's very apparent. It's like, remember back in the day, I'm old enough to have just come onto the scene when Photoshop 3 was just released with layers. Layers were first introduced in Photoshop 3. And, Photoshop filters were kind of a cool thing back then. People were excited about this neat digital rendering tool that could very quickly spit out this effect that was kind of impressive at the time. But a few years later, even, I don't know, it didn't even take a few years, like, you see those things and they're cheesy because it's like, oh, that's a Photoshop filter. It looks like, I don't care about that. That's not important. It looks silly. And I see that happening already with AI. And so to bring that into your sacred creative space is a bit of a shame. It's a slippery slope. It can be useful. It can be a useful tool. I remember back in the day people saying about projectors that if an artist used a projector, it was cheating. And to that I say, no, false. It's a useful tool to get a better result. We can get, for doing a portrait, we can get a more accurate face rendering, potentially by tracing a photograph of the person we want to paint. Then if we did it by eye, that's debatable. There's still a lot of translation involved for an artist to work that way. And ultimately you have to paint the whole thing anyway on top of your line drawing. So I don't see it as the same thing as a computer program that is stealing from other artists and randomly or magically generating this image that you've told it to create. So I mean, in a nutshell, that's really my point, is that as artists, our process of creating something from our imagination is sacred. You may have a vision and it's so intense and so powerful. Maybe it's you're in an ayahuasca ceremony or something and you have this thing that's just like, how the hell am I ever going to create that? And the burden might be too great and you might just never even start because it's too much to even wrap your head around. I could never communicate that, so why try? But the thing I like to remember is that in those visions, we're being given inspiration from God or from whatever you want to call it, and it's our job then to just simply translate that into our own world, through our own means, through our own language, and to do our best and to create something. It's never going to be what you saw in the mind's eye, but it's going to be something that's you, wholly you and genuine. And so using a software program, you're sacrificing your magic to this thing, to this computer. And so that's the danger for me. That's a sacrifice that personally I'm not willing to make. It's a personal call. If you don't mind and you're honest about the way you create your art, I don't see any harm done. If you don't care, then I don't have time to care either about how you make your art. But I do feel for myself passionately that I'm not willing to make that sacrifice and give up my magic. So thank you for watching if you made it this far, and don't forget to like this video, subscribe, definitely comment below. I know this is a heated debate and there's a lot to discuss here, so I'd love to hear your opinion.